Everybody, welcome to a special edition of the Highlight Zone After Hours. I'm Steve.
And I'm Kelly.
It's the show where we typically drink and retell episodes of the Highlight Zone in 2 minutes or less, but today we're doing a Robert Duvall special. Sadly, we lost one of the best actors of all time yesterday,
Agreed.
And as we all know, he starred in a season 4 episode called Miniature.
My mother says that breakfast is the most important meal of the day.
And we're going to go into that, but we're going to start this show off with our own celebratory shots for Bobby D. Great actor, and we're going to go into this retelling and really going into who he was, because what a hell of a background.
Oh my God.
Right?
The more you look into it, the more you're amazed, and then you remember so many things.
Yeah.
But the list is so long, you cannot remember it all. So to everyone watching, you've got to dig into this guy's history. We're going to mention several of his movies, some of his TV shenanigans.
And you've got some background history on his family and
weird
stuff, really interesting stuff to celebrate the guy that most people know from The Godfather and Apocalypse Now. But this is for you, Bobby. We got one for you at the end of the show. Salud, 95 years.
You're traveling through another dimension. A dimension not only of sight and sound, but of Twilight Zone reviews. A journey into a wondrous land of intoxication where a father, son, and guest drink and retell episodes of the Twilight Zone.
There is a fifth dimension.
Stay tuned, because your next stop is the Highlight Zone After Hours.
The Twilight Zone.
All right, so here we go. Welcome back. And what we're going to be doing is talking about Robert Duvall. And Robert Duvall has an amazing background. And I know you're thinking we've known him for 95 years. He must have won a million Oscars. Funny thing is, he didn't. He won one Oscar. Here's what Robert Duvall is most famous for. Robert Duvall got one Oscar for Best Actor for Tender Mercies in 1983. Beyond that, he's racked up a ton of big ones. 2 Golden Globes, one for Tender Mercies, one for The Apostle, a BAFTA for The Great Santini, an Emmy for The Executioner's Song as Best Supporting Actor, a Screen Actors Guild Award for The Apostle, plus lifetime honors like the Kennedy Center Honors in 2010 and the National Medal of Arts in 2015. I mean, those are just some of the big accolades, but on these kind of things, I always expect these guys to have like 19 Oscars. He has one, but we know him from so many roles, and he's such a good, you know what? I don't even think it's fair to call him a character actor, because towards the end, he played the old man in a lot of things. My favorite role of his is literally in a movie called The Road, where his name is Old Man, because they don't have names in that movie.
When I saw that boy, I thought I'd died, and he was an angel.
But man, what a great presence, always.
He seems so humble that he's always playing a co-star. It's hard to see him in the role of a star, because he's so supportive of every other actor
Crazy
and
heart.
actress.
He's there next
that
to.
It seems like he just sort of fits into that role, where normally it wouldn't be a best actor, although it could be.
Yeah.
But he's just so perfect in so many things.
And then in yours, he's the co-host to the side one to Kevin Costner. I mean, that's kind of
my favorite.
Yeah, so it's kind of crazy, but we'll get into him in a second. Let's go and do our 3-minute retelling this time, 30-second shift back and forth, because he was in season 4, episode 8, which is called Miniature, which first aired on February 21st, 1963. It is one of the 45-minute long episodes. I'm sorry, it's 51 minutes long. So it's one of those hour-long ones. So what we're going to do is 3 minutes retelling this, and we're going to do about 30 seconds back and forth.
Okay, I'm going to do a miniature.
So we're going to send over a miniature.
A miniature.
Send over my way, miniature style. What is that? Why did I just get like tight? Am I constipated? Do I have cramps?
Did I throw it too hard?
No, you okay. To the average person, a museum is a place of knowledge, a place of beauty, and a place of truth and wonder. Some people come to study, others to contemplate, others to look at the sheer joy of looking. Charlie Parks has his own reasons. He comes to the museum to get away from the world. It isn't really the 60-cent cafeteria meal that has drawn him here every day. It's the fact that there in these strange, cool halls, he can be alone for a little while. Really and truly alone. Anyway, that's how it was before he got lost and wandered into the Twilight Zone. By the way, I really like that intro. Yeah. It doesn't spoil what's going on, but I like the ending line. Anyway, that's how it was before he got lost and wandered into the Twilight Zone. I think that's kind of unique as its own thing. All right, so here we go. I got our clock going on here. Who's going to start it again?
I'll start it.
You're going to start it? All right, let's do this. I have some opinions on this episode, and let's get this going. 3 minutes on the shot clock. Ready? And Let's go.
So he's a real young accountant in a room full of accountants working their 10-key calculators back in the day. And they pause for lunch, and his coworkers are bugging him. They're all in white shirts and their little ties, and he's working away. They take lunch, and they say, "Are you joining us?" And he just looks at them, goes back to his work, and they just shrug him off, go to the back, and then they start mocking him because they think he's a brown noser, that he's working hard.
Yeah, they're
to
such
get a
dicks.
raise. They are idiots.
Yeah.
So he keeps working. Once they leave, he gets up, puts his coat on, and goes out and leaves. While he's leaving, his boss, who is
The guy from
the guy
The Martian.
from the Martian,
Yep.
sees him and makes note of it. So our guy leaves, goes
Oh, man.
walking down the street, and goes
To a museum.
museum.
Okay, so he goes into the museum and he's walking around. There's a bunch of people in there, and then he comes across a section that's a miniatures. So it's a big like dollhouse. By the way, one of my favorite effects that they do is how they animate this dollhouse later on. I'll tell you later.
Cool.
So he starts looking in there and he sees a girl inside that's probably a figure, but she's a human, and she's moving around. And then she starts playing the piano.
Victorian era,
yeah,
like late
and it's supposed to be in
1800s.
Boston. Go.
Yep. So he's watching her, and he's mesmerized by this little miniature, and he's all of a sudden he hears piano music, and he sees she's playing a harpsichord, and suddenly he starts humming along to that music, and he's mesmerized by that music. She's playing the music and doing the whole thing, and he's looking at her, just totally enthralled. And I think at that point he spends
Tagging in.
countless time. Go for it.
The security guard there, who was also the security guard of the elevator operator in the Mannequins episode,
Yes.
is like, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Oh, how did you get it to move?" And he goes, "That's a piece of wood." And he's like, "What? No, it's not. It was just talking to me." He goes, "Come here and look." And there's a little plaque that says Boston. So anyway, they leave. He leaves the place, and then he goes back home, right? And he goes home, and his mom is there, and his mom is one of those, he's a really bizarro character because he's like a mama's boy. Rod has a thing for this storyline, by the way, and he's an infant, and this guy is super bizarre. Go for it.
So the one little piece in between, after the first encounter, he goes back to work. The boss asks him to come into his office. The whole office is watching him. His boss fires him.
I got this
because
storyline.
he doesn't get
Yeah.
along well with the other workers. It speaks again to his introverted approach. He just does not communicate well with other human beings. So he goes home. He's with his mom. She's mothering him to death. She fixes his pillow in the afternoon to take a nap, and he willingly does it.
But later she even takes his socks off. But we'll get into
Yes.
that later. Okay, so
Yes.
he goes back and she's all upset that he was fired. And oh my God, your father would be distraught if he knew you lost your job. He'd kill himself. So later on, the mom gets the sister and her husband to come over and have dinner. And the husband's like, "Hey, I got you a job if you want it. It's outside of the city." And Duvall is like, "It's outside of the city. I don't know if I want to do that." So they're like, "Okay." So the sister goes, "I'm going to set you up on a date with this girl. Go."
I think that the date was a setup from a street girl, because this gal is coming across to him.
This is wild.
and
Keep going.
Is very aggressive, pulls him to her. She wants to kiss him. He wants nothing to do with it. He ends up shoving her on the ground. She slaps him and says, "You don't need a girlfriend. You need a doctor." She leaves.
Oh,
Pick
my
it
turn?
up.
Okay, so he comes back then, and he goes back to the museum again, and he's obsessed with this, the thing, and he goes over and he's watching the girl again. And when he goes in there and he sees the girl again, this time there's a maid in there, but a guy comes in the door, and and he's aggressive, and he hits the maid with a cane, and then he picks up the girl, because she kind of passes out, the one that he's in love with, passes out, and he takes her upstairs. So Duvall...
So this character with the top hat upstairs has this devilish grin on his face when he sees the bed. Duvall freaks out. He starts screaming and says, "Yeah, I've got to stop him. He's going to abuse her. He's going to do this. He's going to do that." So he tries to break the glass, the front of the miniature house, and he can't break it with his hands. So he goes to the Egyptology exhibit right next door, grabs this statue, runs back in, smashes the glass, is sitting there holding it when the security guard comes in.
The security guard escorts him out, and he leaves, and he goes back, and they call a therapist, and the mental health professional takes him, and does he get like taken away? He does a little bit, right? He does. He gets taken
committed.
away. He's committed.
In there.
He comes back, and all of a sudden he's a different person, and he's like all up and like he's normal. He's all talkative and cute and everything. So they're like, "Okay, great." So the sister's like, "Hey, we're going to bring over that girl again because she really needs a second chance and whatever." So they're doing this thing, and he's like, "Okay, Mom, I'm going to go to bed. Can you make my bed for me?" "Pass it off, Dad."
So, "Sure, honey, I'll do that." She goes up, "Can I get you a cup of coffee or
Cocoa.
Cocoa?" And he says, "Yes, Mom." He lays on the bed with his work shoes on, his wingtips. She undoes the laces, takes the shoes off, and actually pulls the top of each sock so that it's loose while he's taking the nap. I mean, this is one whacked out dude. She leaves. He locks the door behind her. Then he gets this devilish grin on his face because it was all a charade. He knew that they wouldn't let him go back to see the the miniature, so he pretended to get better. He conned the doctor. Then he escapes his room.
And I'll finish this thing out. He escapes and they break the door down because they can't get in. He has obviously gone back to the museum. So he goes back to the museum and they're like, the doctor's like, we need to go over there. We called it. The museum is closed. It's only open on whatever weird day. They said Wednesdays or Tuesdays. And they're like, well, no, he's going to be here. So they go into the museum with flashlights. The security guard is there, the same guy from before, with the mom, the daughter, and the brother, and the security guard. They're looking around and they don't see him. And what happens? Of course, the most Rod Serling ending of this whole thing is the security guard that caught him in the first place, that was a nice guy actually, looks in and what does he see? Robert Duvall is in the tiny room with the girl and they're talking and she's got one of those little viewer finder things on there and they're there. So the moral of this, I guess that's it. But what happens is he just got shrunken down and sucked into that world. But this time, someone else witnessed it, which I think is the linchpin of the twist of it, okay?
The very end, the security guard gets a little grin on his face, nods at the miniatures, and that's the end of it.
Absolutely. Okay. Send it over my way, tiny style. Psst. I'm a little tiny person. I'm in my house. This is a horrible joke. They never found Charlie Parks because the guard didn't tell them what he saw in the glass case. He knew what they'd say, and he knew that they'd be right too. Because seeing is not always believing, especially if what you see happens to be in an odd corner of the Twilight Zone. All right, so Dad, I'm going to tell you, we have a hell of a hard time ahead of us. A 51-minute episode, we doubled our shot clock. We were over 6 minutes in this thing. So we have to figure out how to get rid of the minutia of our storytelling. But it's hard on a 51-minute episode because so much is dialogue heavy and interview.
Everything plays off of the previous scene, and now there's an hour's worth of scene.
Yeah.
So you don't want to leave something out.
Yeah. We're
going to do that. But it almost might be because Duvall was the main character in this, and this whole episode we're talking about right now is about him. So you and I have been reading about him the last day or so.
Yeah.
So I think we may be a little bit more focused on him than we normally would.
Absolutely. Maybe. This has on IMDb a rating of 7.9. What do you give it?
I would give this a 9 because of the characters.
Really? I gave it a 6.
In this.
I gave it a 6. That's interesting. Yeah. That's a big variance between the two of us.
But again, I'm doing it based on Duvall.
Okay, so
and that's not fair.
And I'm trying to be straight down Main Street.
Then
with
I would
my
say it's
well,
a
no,
7.
It's okay.
It's really a 7 as a storyline, but I'm enthralled watching him act.
You won't go talking crazy anymore and smashing things.
No, Mother, that's all in the past.
See, now that's the thing is we've had other episodes like that too, that the acting is outstanding, so good though that you get distracted by it. Here's the problem that I have with this story is, first of all, we're in season 4. We've already seen 3 different episodes that are just like this. 16mm Shrine is the one that comes to my mind, where the lady is obsessed and is an introvert as well, doesn't want to leave her house because she can't be an A-list actress, gets sucked into her own movie.
Barbie, please come back, Barbara.
This is one of those kind of things. And at the end, even that one, the maid sees her on screen. It's almost the exact same premise. Now, this one is written by Charles Beaumont, which is one of the most iconic Twilight Zone writers. So you know that the meat and potatoes is there. It's a great episode to watch for. But let's get into a little bit of the minutia for just a second. You said it best. That date with the lady is nauseating to watch. To be honest, my skin was crawling at the bizarre. In that time period, it was absolutely okay for a woman to go on a first date, lean up on a guy, say you need to kiss me and be more into it. And then when he said no, to slap him and make him feel like the insecure little man that Rod Serling was painting it to be. I'm telling you, that storyline doesn't work if you gender swap that or if you bring it in today.
That's why I think she hired this gal she was a street gal.
You may be right.
And said, hey, I got a job for you. I'll pay you $50.
Yeah.
Come on to my brother.
Come on to my brother. Yeah. And
because otherwise it doesn't doesn't play.
It doesn't
makes
make
no
sense. She said she worked with him, but you may be onto something there. That just really bothered me. I hated that scene.
Club? I don't know.
Maybe you saw her. She had big hair. I did enjoy the dynamic between the sister and the brother-in-law. It's exactly kind of how, not in my family, but other ones that you see, the brother-in-law was kind of a dummy, and he was like a nice, sweet, dummy guy.
Him doing this?
Yeah, he's cracking his knuckles. It was a really good moment when
the psychologist looks at him twice and says,
"That's an interesting habit you have.
Why are you doing that?"
That's an interesting habit. And then all of a sudden he realizes, oh, wow. The other thing I really liked, and I'm not trying to be too chatty about this because you have a lot to say about Duvall, is there's a really, we have to drink. 6 minutes. We need to drink all of this. The way that they shoot, I'm going to put in an image right here. Hopefully I can screen grab something. The way that they shoot him looking at the dollhouse, which is approximately 6 feet tall with huge, 4 different big rooms. They added TV screens. This is before blue screen or green screen where they could CGI it in. They had a pre-filmed storyline going on in those different screens of the dollhouse, and Duvall was sitting there with perfect lighting, by the way. The lighting on Duvall's face was incredibly good. Some of the cinematography on this was fantastic, but the way that the dollhouse looked was really cool because you could see her moving around, and they didn't obviously have CGI to do it. They filmed it, but put it in the dollhouse. And I thought that was incredibly cool to watch. It was a really cool trickery.
The other part I love is in a lot of his shows where there are images of frozen figures, but they don't have the ability back then to use a CGI type setup. So these are real actors and actresses that are frozen, but every once in a while you see them move.
Yeah, the mannequins, all of these ones have real people. Yeah, you're totally right.
The first time he looks at her, she's at the piano, but not moving. It's before she started to play. But every once in a while, you see her move just a little bit. I go, this is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is so cool.
It is. While it's not super high up on my list of ratings, I still had a hell of a good time watching it. And it's definitely worth watching, not just for him, but because of the cinematography. There's really good lighting. So I highly recommend it.
This was one of the first things, though, that kicked off a career that spanned the next 60 years of this man's life.
Oh, my God. Are you a paid professional? How the hell did you just perfectly segue into veteran actor Robert Duvall, born...
There you go. Bring it on.
Born on January 5th, 1931, and sadly he died February 15th, 2026 at the age of 95. So, we can go through a little bit of his history and stuff like that. We kind of read over his Oscars, stuff like that. Why don't you give me some of the data that you saw, because it's interesting.
Some of the trivia data not related to his career, which we're going to get into.
Just regular Duvall.
He was born in San Diego. His dad was a Navy officer who ended up being an admiral.
His dad was
His dad was a lifelong
anti-Nepo baby. He was freaking, he's a military brat.
Yep, military brat. And his mom was a amateur actress just on the side, like a community theater or something.
That's incredible.
But his dad ended up being an admiral in the Navy. He decides to get into acting early 60s. So this is right before the Twilight Zone episode. Who does he roommate with for 6 months? Dustin Hoffman.
Shut up.
And Gene Hackman. The three of them roomed together for 6 or 8 months as they're both cutting their
Dustin Hoffman, teeth. Gene Hackman, and Robert Duvall.
Yeah.
So you've got Dustin Hoffman is still alive. We lost Hackman very recently, and who was never in a Twilight Zone, by the way. But whoa, that's bizarre. What a bunch of roommates.
Is that?
Oh my God.
Think about the shenanigans, and no one has had a bad word to say about Duvall.
No,
I don't read everything, and they just speak to how great of an actor he was. So the one thing that they said that Hoffman at one point said is, this guy will take a dare and a bet on anything, and he will do anything at the spur of the moment. So I'm thinking, can you imagine those three as 3 bachelors? The shenanigans they got into?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's
New York
awesome.
In the 60s?
Yeah, that's incredible. That group of, those are iconic people. Okay. That's insane. Wow.
So the other thing that I found really interesting, sorry to steal it on
Keep going. I'm leaning.
He's been married 4 times.
Okay.
His current wife, who is 40 years his junior, is an Argentinian actress. He met her on the set when he was filming a movie there. Now, what's interesting is, and my wife reminded me, and I have to get this out there, is Robert Duvall is her dream tango partner.
Okay,
and
so
I never could figure out what that was until I studied.
In context, what that means is our family has this weird thing where my sister and my mom all say who they want to live on their cul-de-sac. Yep. They have all of these things where they say, I would like to be that person's friend or this person's one. So this was mom's tango partner.
Mom's dream tango partner. But when you start piecing it together, this fourth wife is Argentinian. What's famous in Argentina? The tango. When he was there back 25 years ago and he met her, she obviously knew the tango. She's Argentinian and she's an actress. He picked up this skill set because of his love for this new gal he'd found.
Wow.
And he did it so prolifically that up to just a couple of years ago, he was rated as a professional tango.
That's dancer. Incredible.
The last thing, so I got sidetracked real fast. He was married 4 times.
Okay.
He never had any children.
I did not know that.
No kids. And he had a quote from a couple of years ago. Someone asked him about that, and he said, I guess I've been shooting blanks my whole life. He said, I've been married to 4 women, and I've engaged in multiple women outside of marriage, and never once...
No way.
Have we had a child? So I guess I'm shooting blanks. His whole life. I thought
that's adorable, kind of sweet, kind of. I guess I don't know. That's just an interesting
sort of when it comes out of the mouth of an 85-year-old or a 90-year-old, you just chuckle and you think that's sort of cute, sweet.
Agreed.
If a 30-year-old were to say that today, it wouldn't.
Yeah, I think it get canceled.
Yeah,
I have no idea what the hell happens if you say that today.
But anyway, so 4 wives, no children.
Damn, that's really interesting.
So I thought that was pretty cool.
What a cool story.
Yeah.
Anything else on your background that you remembered from looking him up?
None because we want to talk about some of his shows.
To wrap this up, we'll just go through a little bit of our favorites because he has a ridiculous catalog. If you go to IMDb, my wife and I play a game where they call their top 4. And I know you can't see this very well right now, but I'm going to show this one right. If you look at IMDb, their top 4 come up on popularity. That's how they do it. Popularity. Not most votes, but things about it or whatever, right? So Robert Duvall's top 4 are quite interesting because the number one that I think of when you say Robert Duvall, besides my favorite role of his, which I already mentioned earlier, is The Godfather. And then the other one is Apocalypse Now. Nothing like the smell of napalm in the morning, right?
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
Okay, some of the most iconic lines with his surfboard, shirtless, on the back of a helicopter, all angry. What an iconic freaking role. Like, dude, no one does that. And then 3 freaking, I mean, him and the Godfather is incredible.
Yep.
His top 4 are the one that he won the Oscar for, the Apostle,
yep.
Tender Mercies, The Judge, and The Godfather. That's his top 4 on IMDb.
Yeah.
Now, he has over 90-something credits on here that are legitimately like big credits. Go for it.
He himself was asked, what was your favorite role? And this happens to be one of my favorites with him, Lonesome Dove. He said that was his very favorite.
Old Western.
His own. And he is known as a Western character. Matter of fact, there's an organization called CNI, Cowboys and Indians Academy. I did not know this until I studied him. And their logo is CNI, and it's about Western actors in Western movies.
Really?
He was nominated and put into their Lifetime Achievement Hall of Fame because of his numerous roles playing good guys and bad guys in Western movies.
That's incredible because you mentioned what's one of the other ones you mentioned? The one that you liked?
My all-time favorite with him is Open
Range.
Open Range. His story, because he's front and center the whole 2 hours, and Kevin Costner is his cohort, but this guy carries the storyline. It almost brings you to tears during several points in this show.
Just as a note, Kevin Costner directed that movie.
Yes. It also has one of the most outrageously cool gunfights
of
any Western in existence.
You the one killed our friend?
That's right. I shot the boy, too, and I enjoyed it.
So that's one of my other favorites. Now, another one of mine, and of course Apocalypse Now and all those other, his very first movie role was in To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yes, well, he played Boo Radley.
Yeah.
And you only see him for a couple of seconds at the end, and he looks incredible. He looks very similar to how he did up until like the 80s, to be very honest.
Yep.
He looked exactly like that. Sweet role, very little dialogue. A lot of it was in his face, but you could tell from being in To Kill a Mockingbird that this guy had the chops to be here. I honestly think that today people value actors differently. They want clickability and who's got a lot of Instagram followers. Back then, it was a lot of less is more. What can you sell the screen, that camera on the screen without saying anything? And fucking hey, Boo Radley was incredible.
He was a character actor, number one.
Yeah.
Another movie that I think was in my top 5 of all-time movies. You guess which one, and I've got the poster in my office. You gave it to me.
Bullet.
Okay, Bullet. Do you know that he was in Bullet?
Yeah, I do, of course. Oh, is he the taxi driver?
He is the taxi driver that you would never peg as Robert Duvall, but until you watch it again, and he and Steve McQueen spend 5 minutes of the show together.
That's it.
Driving in the taxi, going from site to site where the taxi driver took the hitman.
Yep.
It is the coolest exchange.
Damn, you have blown my mind because I'm getting him mixed up with somebody else in that film. You're totally right because I remember that. I also found out something super interesting. This is a bizarro one. He was in a movie with Elon Musk where Elon Musk played a airline steward, flight attendant who opens the door for him. And if I could find the video clip, I'm going to put it in right here. It's super funny. But Elon Musk tweeted today that he was great to work with and incredibly cool to the minor staff because at this time, Elon Musk was a nobody. And he just said he was an amazing person with all of the background staff and whatever. We don't have a whole hell of a lot of actors that are coming up today that are going to result in longevity like that. Leonardo DiCaprio in his future will be one of these people. Colin Farrell hopefully will be. Michael B. Jordan hopefully will be. But there's a lot of bullshit actors today that won't hold the gravitas that people like this did. And it's a massive loss. But I got to say, 95, fucking A, man. You did 95 amazing years of entertainment that obviously mean a lot to me. I'm really choked up just talking about your role in The Road, but good God.
Well, we called this,
cheers to you.
We called this episode together in the last 24 hours.
Put it together super fast.
Result of hearing about his passing and the impact that he's had on us and the movies that we've loved to watch that star him. In all of these shows, right around that time, 60 to 63, is when he cut his teeth on acting in a big way.
Yeah.
Culminating in this, and this is when you pull his name up, this episode on The Twilight Zone is one of those key headliners for him historically. So again, Rod Serling, classic at picking the right people for the right roles. My hat off to The Twilight Zone once again.
Absolutely. So we have, to celebrate the man, we pour out 2 shots right here for Robbie Duvall, Bobby D. Thank you for 95 years. You really made an impact on all of us, and thank you very much.
Rest in peace.
I don't really know how else to end this.
I don't think you can end it any better.
Thanks for watching. Go check out this episode. Go look up all of his stuff, and
have a blast.
Have a good time enjoying Robert Duvall's career. It was a great one.
All righty.
Bye, everybody.
And I want you to remember this, that love... true love never dies. You remember that, boy. You remember that. Doesn't matter if it's true or not, you see. A man should believe in those things because those are the things worth believing in.
Makes you wonder, doesn't it? Where is this place and when is it? The answer is, it doesn't make any difference.
Can you say eggs?